What is up, YouTubers and lovers of budget cars and bikes? Welcome back to the second part of this whole Synetiq how to use kind of guide. I'm hoping you've seen the first part of this, which we talked about bikes and salvage bikes and what I do there, what I've done there, and the salvage bike that I actually bought. I'm hoping you've seen that video. If it's not loaded up by the time you see this, then it's on its way, trust me. We did buy a cat end motorcycle, and I'll show you the story of that. If you subscribe, obviously you'll see that. If it's already been uploaded, you'll already seen it, so this is all a bit pointless, really, isn't it? Anyway, this is the second part of the whole Synetiq story, this kind of trio of videos that I'm going to make for you guys, because I know that when I watch other YouTubers who do live bidding and they tell you all about the Copart / Synetiq aspect of how to buy salvage things, I find it quite interesting, so I thought I'd do my own, because there isn't a lot of YouTube channels that use Synetiq for whatever reason. They all tend to use Copart. I don't use Copart, as I said, because I think their fees are way too high. There's been some real horror stories there that I've read about and seen online, and the nearest one is 130 miles away from me, so it's quite expensive for me to be able to get a car or a bike to Cornwall. Synetiq, however, as I said in the previous video, they tend to be a little bit closer, i.e. they are Exeter and Cornwall. Anyway, I covered that in the first video when we did the bikes. I'm hoping you've seen that. I'll stick it in the right hand corner now, and I'm hoping it was of some use. Anyway, we're going to talk about the cars that are in my watch list at the moment and how I go about buying those, because I bought, crikey, a dozen, 19, something like that. It should probably tell me, actually. If I click into here, it'll tell me I've auctions won 12, so I've bought 12 things so far. So I've used it a fair amount, and I've not found it to be a problem. As I said, it's 50 quid a year, which isn't the end of the world, and the fees are cheaper than Copart, which is always a bonus. Now, I have got some cars in my watch list which I wanted to talk to you about, and the things that you may not notice on the first inspection. You know, you kind of see a car and think, oh, blimey, that looks great. I'll have a little look at that, I'll have a bid at that, and lo and behold, when it arrives, it's got some bits that you didn't notice, and you think, oh, Christ, here we go. I know, I've done it myself. The biggest one, well, not the biggest one, but, oh, sorry, that's a police auction, which we'll discuss at another time. The one that's spotted today, as it were, is in Cumbellic, which is basically I can get this car delivered to me for 30 quid, and you think, well, blimey, 350 quid this is on at the moment. The reserve has been met. It's not showing any mileage at the moment, but that's because it's got no keys. It's being sold by the local police force, but it does say that it had a category N marker against it in the past, so it's been crashed before. Not the end of the world, but it's been repaired, and as you'll see, it's been repaired pretty bloody well. There's nothing on this car that makes me think, oh, blimey, look at the state of that. If we look around the car, you can zoom in a bit. The wheels are okay. There's no panel damage that I can see. There was a little mark on this door, I think. The bonnet's the boot rather is open, which was a bit of a concern, but I don't imagine it's a huge problem. But it's the coupe, the 1 Series coupe, which I've wanted to try out for a while. But there's a couple of things that throw up red flags for me. You see the angle of this steering wheel. Now, that's quite far around to the right-hand side. But if you look, the wheels, if we can get back to the beginning here. Yeah, if you look at the wheels, I don't understand why that's been turned so far and the wheels turned like an inch. Bit of a kind of red flag for me. The other thing, obviously it's got no keys. 200 or 300 quid to get a locksmith round to your house who'll put a new set of locks on it for you, or maybe not so much a new set of locks, but give you a new remote key. I don't think it's that expensive. I've not done it, but I don't think it's that expensive. That wouldn't worry me that much. What does worry me is this, which I spotted right at the end. This is no doubt where they got in, through the sunroof. Now, this is going to be a factory-fitted sunroof, I imagine. They've probably absolutely destroyed that sunroof, and I don't imagine that's going to be cheap to fix. Is there damage around it? You know, have they levered it up with a bloody crowbar? Have they destroyed the roof? They're not showing you that on the pictures, which again, it rings alarm bells, because it says here it has various age-related marks and damage. That's not an age-related mark or damage, is it, really? That's got nothing to do with the age relation. That's where somebody's gotten through there and smashed the crap out of the sunroof. So it's a bit naughty. Cumbellic, I gotta say, I've had issues with them in the past, but it's down to you to have to look for these things. Now, as I said, it needs a set of keys, it needs a new sunroof, and fixing it could end up being a real money pit. This, it does obviously say no mileage, but I've looked online, because again, if you remember the first video, if you pop into the click registration thing here, it'll give you the reg. I've already done that. I've had a little look. It was last MOT on the 1st of February, so February this year. It had 135 65,000 miles. This car is basically doing around about 10,000 miles a year. Now, depending on when it was crashed, you'd have to do an HPI check on that. It could have been crashed on the 2nd of February. It could have been crashed in December. It could have 136,000 miles. It could have 146,000 miles. No real way of knowing, which is another reason why I probably wouldn't bid on this. Plus, it says the windscreen's damaged but not affecting the driver's view. So it's probably going to need a windscreen, isn't it? So you're thinking sunroof, windscreen, set of keys. All of a sudden, this £350 car, which has met its reserve, which throws up red flags for me anyway, because they don't normally meet reserve at 350 quid. I wouldn't touch this because of the problems I've mentioned. So, you've really got to do your due diligence in that respect and make sure you know exactly what you're getting into. Another one that I am actually really interested in, but has got problems of its own, these little Fiat 500s. It's the colour therapy, very sought after, seemingly just needs a wing, doesn't it? But then as we look around here, you look at that wheel there, that's pointing to the left. If you look at the next picture, that is perfectly straight. So what's going on here? It probably needs a lower control arm, probably not the end of the world, but it could be a drive shaft, it could be a subframe problem. You just don't know. So all of a sudden it's gone from being just a wing, which I think they'll show you a bit more of that in a minute. Let's have a little look. I'm sure they showed another picture of this wing. Maybe not. But it looks like it just needs a wing. But is the headlight damaged in behind here? There's something going on with the suspension. But, it's not the end of the world. I don't mind that one at all. It's a 2014. It's done 62,000 miles, which means it's borderline for a cam belt change. Again, you can check out the MOT history with that as well. Find out what it's if it's got an MOT, when did it have its last MOT, how much is left. I tend to, when you talk about values, how much could you get for this car if you paid, 1,500 quid for it, plus fees to your door, maybe 1,800 quid for me, maybe a bit more for you. Then what are they worth? I put in 500 colour therapy, 2014 in that mileage. The cheapest one on here is similar miles, as you can see, 65,000. Now this, as we open it up, you'll see here as we go down, this is from a dealer, but it's also a Cat N or a Cat S. The downside of this is they don't tell you which one it is. Is it a Cat N? Is it a Cat S? We don't know, but that's the cheapest one on there at 3.7. You'd probably get that for 3.5, but that's at a dealer, so knock another anything up to £1,000 off that, I guess. So if you bought it for 1,500 quid, you fix the wing and the suspension damage, it's probably going to cost you another 250 quid. So you're looking at £2,000 probably fixed, and to your door, it's probably worth 3. Maybe something like that. So there's not a huge amount of money to be made on that. But if it went for less than 1,500 quid, I think it would be a bargain, and it's sought after. But will it reach reserve? We'll keep an eye on that. We might even, because there's 7 days left on that, next Wednesday, I might do a live bid on that. If you guys are interested, I might try and win that, because I think it's going to be worth the money if you can get it at a decent price. Something else, Peugeot 108 Active as a 1 litre car. Seemingly, what's going on with this? I know that it's been through the auction a couple of times. You look around here and you think, okay, well, what's wrong with this car then? Is there anything obvious? Now, this wing obviously needs looking at. It's got a dent there. It's got a dent there. As you can see here in the rear quarter as well, it's got a dent in the rear driver's side quarter. Now, if we just close this picture and see what they say about it, they say starts and drives near side front. Now, as we can see, that is not near side front. That's offside front and offside rear. They haven't mentioned that, so you've got to look for that. There's a bloody great dent in the rear quarter, and it needs a new driver's wing. Why haven't they mentioned that? Obviously the damage here is what the damage is. It needs a bumper, it needs a headlight, it might need a new bonnet hinge. Hopefully that's all. It needs a new wing, obviously. But then, look at this. It's got a dent in the bloody door as well. And as we go round, there's the next thing. There's the dent in the rear quarter. So it's got dent in the door, dent in the rear quarter, dent in the other rear quarter. As you can see, it's much more prevalent here. It's got a dent in that wing. Not quite such a bargain buy then, is it really, if you think about it? It's not reached reserve. But as long as you look for these things, I couldn't buy this, you see. I couldn't, because I can't fix 2 rear quarters, 2 new wings, a bumper, whatever's going on with that headlight. I just don't think there's money in it unless you can do that kind of work yourself. And again, you got to look for these things, because if you just take them at their word and go, oh, look, all it is this wing and a bumper and a headlight, it's not, is it? It's a door, a rear quarter, the other wing. You've got to be so bloody careful with these things. I'm not going to hark on about this much longer. because I don't want these videos to be hugely long. But this is another one that I was looking at. Not necessarily anything wrong with this car. It says, and I quote, "No obvious damage, age-related dents and scratches, but it's only done 67,000 miles. But why is it a Cat N? What makes this a Cat N, I wonder? Is it a previous Cat N fix? I can't find any damage on this. There's nothing obvious. Now, the one thing that did flag up for me was these wheels. Now, they do look very nice, don't they? But this is a small engine car with huge wheels on it. It's only a 1.4. Chances are it's been a young driver who's probably screwed the crap out of it. And, you know, it's a tough one, isn't it? I'm going to quickly, with you guys here, you press this, I'm not a robot. Let's see what's going on with the MOT history on this. MK59, if we just go back, I'll put in MK59, what was the rest of it now? HRE. We put in HRE. Okay, that's because I put that bit in there, excuse me. Right, it's got no MOT for a start. It ran out in November this year, not the end of the world. 57,000 miles on the last one, so it's done 10,000 miles in a year. Okay, it's quite a lot for a 1.4. Windscreen damage. Does it need a new windscreen? Is that possible? I mean, it did fail on central stop lamps, obviously reduced, blah-de-blah, windscreen. It failed on the electrical wiring insecure. Where? Hydraulic brake caliper leaking. You know, repair as soon as possible. Windscreen still damaged. I don't know. I'm going to keep an eye on it, but it's got no MOT. So I know a fair bit about minis, and I know they can be absolute bloody money pits. But this could be a good buy if you could get this for 700 quid, something like that, maybe. That get it to your door. For me, I could get that to my door for less than £1,000. It's probably worth sub £2,000, I would say, as long as there's nothing else wrong with it. But it's got no MOT, so bear that in mind. You've got to bear those kind of things in mind. But it's low mileage, so I don't think you'd be worried about the cam chain or the clutch per se on this. Definitely one worth looking at. Anyway, that's it for here. I just wanted to show you the cars that are in my watch list. Hopefully we're going to do a live bidding thing as well. If you guys are interested in that, then subscribe and you'll see me live bidding on this, because it's slightly different to Copar. But I'm hoping that the things I pointed out on the Fiat 500, the things I pointed out on the Mini and the Peugeot and the BMW from Cumbelic as well, I hope that's explained a few things, stuff that I'd missed and then suddenly found when it's arrived, and stuff that I now look for when it comes to buying these cars. And I hope that's been of some help to you guys. As I said, like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, thumbs up, and you'll see some more of this as well. We'll do, as I said, a live bidding thing, hopefully in the next few days on the bikes, and in a week or so on the cars. If you're interested, as I said, like, share and subscribe, and you'll see more on this. And I hope it's been of some interest to you guys. And thanks for watching.